Marty,
Okay. G'day, Jeff. How you going?
it's good. 33-day warrior, 33-day challenge. It's finished for a lot of people. Some people are still doing it. How was it for you?
Yeah, gee, Jeff. I think the key for me was just did it with a guy I'm discipling who I'm mentoring and sewing into. And so every morning he'd get up, 6:30, he'd watch it, I'd watch it, 10 to 7, we
Mm,
would share what we learned. But it was more than just sharing what we learned from that. He
mm,
would be accountable with how he'd been going with his flesh and the wins, not so helpful moments.
mm, mm,
But
mm.
it was like this, we got into this incredible rhythm, and it
Yep.
was so freeing. It was so life-giving for him. He's still going, well, I don't want it to finish.
Yep.
We're
And
up
it,
to day 32 as we
yeah,
talk, and it's like, oh no, we're trying to make it go longer. And
yeah,
so I'm glad we're having this chat because I
yeah,
want
yeah.
us to wrestle with what do you do after it now?
That's right. That's right. And it doesn't have to finish. I think that's the whole concept. 33-minute warrior, 33-day challenge part was like, um, what in our lives can we adjust? What things can we put in place? What things can we remove that really help us focus on our purpose?
Mm.
And I think that's the thing that a lot of men don't. They don't need like necessarily these huge big changes. Some do. There's not necessarily these huge big changes, but this alignment and this focus towards purpose. How did you find that helpful? Like the we had through the whole 33 days, the obey heaven, serve
Yeah,
people, conquer self, and crush evil. What do you
yeah.
what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the thing I really enjoyed about it, it's like, that the whole thing of working on self was really vital, like worshiping God, understanding that, obeying heaven was
Mm,
important. But conquer self, that
mm,
I think was one of the most profound moments
yeah,
because for so many people that I'm working with, that I want to work with,
mm,
even do 33 minute warrior with, because gee, I'm going to be doing lots of times, I know, over the coming years. I It's just so, in Proverbs it says, greater is he that conquers himself than he who takes a city.
yeah,
And so what I want to do with these guys that I'm part of their life, I want to help them on this journey to conquer self, to have
yeah,
quiet flesh days,
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
they go, wow, I
yeah,
made it through. And
yeah,
okay, I might have had a few thoughts, But
yeah,
the other thing that was really important,
mm,
every morning, this guy and I, we'd
mm,
put on the armor together.
right,
I'd
right,
say,
right,
okay, what 3 are you going to put
mm,
on? I'd put my 3 on. And
mm,
so we were in the battle together, and it was so
sure,
great. It wasn't like, okay, it might have been teacher, pupil, master in a sense, because I know he
yeah,
looks to me, but it was I had my goals too. He had
yeah,
his. He asked
yeah,
how I was going. He'd say,
yeah,
how are you going at spending time with your wife? Because this is one of
yeah,
the
yeah,
things that I asked for. And so
right,
it was great that we were brothers on the journey. It wasn't
yeah,
me, the expert, knowing everything.
sure,
So I think they were some of the things that have really helped.
yeah. So I think that's one thing that we've been talking about that we would improve probably in the next time round is say right from the beginning, if possible, really commit to someone else, with someone else, that you're going to connect every day on text or by telephone. What do you think? I mean, you probably connected with a few people by text.
Yeah.
Actually talking with someone was, do you think that was better?
Yeah, like for me, it was that the discipline of knowing at a 10 to 7 every morning, this
Mm,
was our time.
yeah,
And so, it's like, well, we probably went over 33 minutes, but but it was the thing that was so good. It just provided the platform for us
mm,
to do the work. And so, yeah, I'd also want to encourage people, don't do it by yourself because,
right.
you cheat a bit. Oh, yeah, I can write that in my journal and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's actually having to tell someone how you're going with that.
yeah,
Or often we'd report, well, how did you go yesterday at your action step? Like, in the physical challenge, the spiritual challenge? Have you been journaling? We held ourselves accountable to it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's the key to it.
Yeah. That's good. The other thing, that you mentioned there, the flesh, and I think this is an interesting one, because I know that some guys have been sort of not worn out, but weary of like just a bunch of questions that they have to, the tick boxes and things. But what you've found, and I would like you to just share a little bit, because you've had so much experience with mentoring. I guess what I feel is like our sexual failures really pummel our identity and our sense of self-worth. It's like other failures. I mean, you could fail, obviously, like you get angry at someone, or you find yourself telling a white lie or something, and you're like, oh, that was wrong, okay. And you go through that repentance process and the renewal of the mind. That's really important. But there's something like about the sexual issues that really just eat away at a guy's self-worth. What have you seen over the years, Marty, regarding that, and the power, of course, about confession, the power of just being free from that?
Yeah. I just want to say it's such a profound question, Jeff. The sexual feelings, experiences, responses like no other can cut through, and it's where the evil one thwarts us most. It's like he cuts us off at the knees, and we sabotage ourselves. I was talking to a guy the other day. He's trying to be a man of God. He's working hard at his university course, working really hard. And then he justifies going online to porn, saying, well, I need a bit of me time. That's the scary thing. Is the flesh is so sneaky. It just wants its needs met. And before you know it, a moment of madness takes over. Look at David. How did David, the warrior king, the guy who loved God so much, how could he have done that? And yet I see it so clearly. And it's not about them, it's about me. My greatest fear, Jeff, is that a moment of madness will take over my life. Sure. That I'll just give in. I'm not going to run off play with another lady or whatever. My wife's fantastic. I keep myself really accountable to her and to God. Right. And I have my spiritual mentor and a running mate as well, because I know I need it. But I think, why I think I'm able to help people in this is because I just said, whatever it takes, I'm determined to do it. As a 17-year-old boy, I still can't believe it. I said to God, I'm not going to masturbate. And I just stopped. And I tell you, if I have a ministry now, I think it was because of that decision, because I just said, God, I am serious about this. Now, look, please don't, I hope people listening don't think, oh, he's perfect. No, not at all. But I just know this is worthy of my best effort. If I don't conquer self in this area, there's just no way that I'm going to be able to be fit, ready for the master's use. And so the final thing I want to say about this, it's shame and guilt that just holds us back. And I know with so many of the Japanese guys that I'm getting to know, because you know what I do, mate? When I mentor someone, the first question is, tell me what you don't want to tell me. And at one level they hate it, but at another level they love it, because if you live in the light as he's in the light, you have fellowship one with the other. And the blood of Christ cleanses you from all unrighteousness. And if ever I know one area that paralyzes you, that holds you back, it's this. And so what I want to encourage every guy that's listening to this, you need to live in the light. You've got to let this out. Shame and guilt, just it's like this. You think, oh, well, I'll just have one look online. It can't hurt. You can almost, the devil can be saying, look, you're allowed to do it, These guys, they're making you be someone you're not, you get all this. And so you give in. And then as soon as you give in, all you can hear from the devil saying, you did what? How could you be a Christian? That's disgusting. Look, if people knew about that, you mustn't tell anyone. And so that's why it's so courageous. Every time someone fesses up to porn, to wanking, to whatever in the sexual nature, I just am so impressed with their courage.
Yeah.
But you know, Jeff, I'm more interested in how they get up, how they recover, how they wipe the dust off.
Yeah.
And be like David, you know, like that whole week where he just worshipped and prayed. And then when he found out the baby had died, he showered and then he worshipped.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to do that, Jeff.
Yeah.
I want to do that. I want to recover quicker and quicker. And you know what I love? When working with these guys, I'm just trying to help them have quick recoveries.
Sure.
You know, and to just break agreements and to see the things that hold them back. But guys, you can't let shame and guilt control you anymore.
That's right. That's right. It's great. It's a great word. And I think this is such a relevant word at this time and season in society and with the technology that everyone has. As you might know, like the internet porn boom really jumped about 2005 when everyone got high-speed internet. And suddenly the temptation's like right in front of everyone. It used to always be there. I mean, there was always people, and even Christians, you know, had it hidden. But it went from being probably a minority group of men to being a majority group of men, where it's like a daily battle. And the thing I love about something, doesn't have to be 33-minute warrior, but any sort of men's get together and be real type thing, is it's putting it in the light, and it's saying, you know what, there is a good shame involved, because that shame is the thing that motivates me to confess, motivates me to get real with someone, so that I find true repentance and true change. And then but that's such a place of strengthening, because you look at each other and you're like, wow, you struggle with that, I've struggled with that, he used to struggle with that. Everyone has a common ground. And there's such a strength that comes from that. And just having that safe place where people are not pointing the finger at you and shaming you, but you've been able to respond to that inner compass where God's renewing your mind, renewing your heart towards what true sexuality is. And especially for young guys who are not yet married, I really want to, and I think I mentioned this probably back in the videos with Jethro, but this is something that does not get easier once you're married.
Yeah, man.
It's something that it's still there. And that's because God, sexuality is such a precious gift that he's given us for marriage. And so to take this time of youth, you know, from your early youth, 13, 14-year-old, when that sexual engine first starts, you know, revving, and really, you know, like you did when you're 17, just hit the nail on the head, just covenant with yourself, just say, I am setting my heart like flint to this purpose. And, you know, there's going to be battles, there's going to be probably stumblings and the occasional fall, but like you say, just coming back again and again. And I'm excited in seeing and what's happened with just doing 33-minute warrior again. Over the years, I've done a lot of men's groups and things, but we want to see a momentum build. And guys, I just want to encourage you, build momentum with one another, in yourself and with one another, and keep on sowing those seeds to maybe Christian guys around you who don't have accountability. You know, find out some, you know, I find it easier obviously to start by sharing your own weaknesses. And when you do share your own weaknesses, then obviously people are way more open to share their weaknesses, because I mean, people who haven't had a man-to-man accountability, they're fearful. They're like, if I share this guy's gonna not respect me anymore. He's gonna think badly of me, you know. But I found, like, if you start sharing a few things, hey, this is what I do. I get together with a few guys and this is what we do. We talk about this because we really want to battle. We want to fight. We want to overcome this area. Excuse me. And you get really specific and you tell, like, your testimony of, like, I'm, you know, then you find guys coming to you and saying, I need that. So have you found that, Marty? What have you found in that area?
Yeah, wow, it's so profound, Jeff. You know what I've discovered? Jesus is known in moments of intimacy.
Mm.
And so when you take the courage to take a deep breath, almost like 1, 2, 3, and jump in, and you're just real and you share what life is really like for you, that's where freedom comes. For
Right.
most of us, Jeff, we live these quiet lives of desperation, you know, and we
Right.
think we could never tell anyone that. But if we live, we put so much energy then in holding that back. And
Mm.
so, Jeff, what have I found? Freedom comes when you live in the light. You know, we do it in the series, confess your sins one to another so you'll be healed. It's not like God hasn't forgiven you, but healing comes.
Mm.
Healing comes as you confess your sins one to another.
Yeah.
And so I just want to encourage people. This is where you'll know the freedom. And part of the people listening some of the guys can say, yeah, but I could never tell anyone that. It was just so painful, and I'm so embarrassed and shame and guilt, you know. But look, there's true guilt and false guilt. You know, true guilt is when you know you've violated God's law and you have to do something. The false guilt is all these noises and voices and things that you should feel. And so your job, you know, it says in Jeremiah 15:19, unless you separate between the precious and the worthless, you can't be my spokesman. Wow, what an incredible passage. And so what we have to do is to do that separating so that we can distinguish what is the true guilt, what's false guilt, what do I need to own. So that's the first thing. Here's the second one I'm really discovering. I've just spent some time with 4 guys who've been doing the 33-Minute Warrior series, and 5 of us met a couple of nights ago at 6 o'clock. 12 o'clock, we were still going. It was incredible. And, you know, it was just what you were saying. They shared their weaknesses. It was like I said, okay, you've seen in the video series, if you watch Koji speaking about the spirit, what we did is, what does your spirit want to say? And the courage of these guys that just it's like they said, here am I, you know, I just want you to know. I want you 3 guys to know what life is like for me. And, you know, and that measures the degree of community that you experience.
Right.
So for me, what am I discovering? It's nights like that. I just see the power of accountability, of having other men, other warriors on the journey. Yeah. And for one of the guys who was really struggling in an area with his marriage, we agreed to fast and pray. We said, we want to be fellow warriors with you. And so we spent a day fast, 24 hours fast, and, you know, he just reported back this incredible breakthrough in his life. Yeah. And the rest of us go, wow, it does work, you know, because I think that's what happens. You've got to experience it. You don't see miracles until you put yourself in a place where you need it. Well, this guy needed it. We prayed and God came through. And so I want to encourage all the guys listening, fellas, you need each other. Don't try and do it alone. I know we say that in the video, brothers, in that last thing where we talk about, you know, 5 descriptions of our true identity. We need brothers on this journey.
That's great. Okay, so that's a couple of really good points. Needing brothers, getting really intentional about taking time with one another, if possible, daily. Text, if not, talking on the phone or through video or audio chat. The next one was the sexual issue. That's a huge one. It's hard, it's difficult, but create a culture. We would encourage us create a culture where that is being spoken about, not with shame and guilt, but with true repentance and true encouragement to just keep on fighting. And some good wisdom. I think, again, some of the good things that you find with sharing with other guys is how did you get free? What happened? You know, what happened with you? And that's really, really beneficial as well. Another point that you brought up now, and I just like to just shift into this maybe for a little bit, is, Marty, I've just loved how you have articulated how to address and how to draw out people's spirits. I just love that, and I've been just so on that bandwagon for the last couple of months with my friends around here, and every time we talk with different friends around here, I'm always like going to that. What I've found, I've talked to certain people obviously I've, been analyzing my own stuff as well. And it's put a little filter on me where I'm talking and I'm just like really asking myself, hold on, am I talking out of my head here? Am I talking out of my emotions, or am I talking out of my spirit? And it gives me a little wee check, and it's been really good. I also with a friend who, excuse me, had some struggles, and I put that question to them as well. I was like, if I draw this little picture, and I draw a similar picture to what you drew, and it's got a head and a heart and a spirit. And it's like, are you living out of your head, out of your intellect? And I would say that's a lot of guys, we're intellectual, we want to study, and this is really big in Japan. We want to understand. I want to study. We hear this in the church all the time. I got to study more. I got to learn more about God. And, that has a place, but that's just one area. And then the emotions, and then maybe there's another type of person who like everything's emotional. Maybe this is a more Pentecostal background. It's like everything's got to be a feeling. And then as you've been sharing, Marty, and just helping us understand so much, like, but our true being is the spirit being. And how do we quieten the mind and quieten the emotions, or put them in proper position, proper place, so that the spirit man comes forth? That has been so good. Just a quick testimony on that, because last week I did a video chat with a Japanese friend who, a really, good brother in the Lord, but his, what would you say, his very intellectual, deep, emails and discussions about different concepts on the 33-minute warrior. And then we got a chance to chat over video for an hour or so. And I just did this thing where I encouraged him. What is your spirit saying? I love your emails and your discussions on stuff. But what's your spirit saying? And we just had a very profound time. He was weeping, and God was showing him some different things from when he was younger. And I felt like he said later, his spirit just started to awaken. Yeah. Wow. So I want to thank you so much for that. But I want to just add on, just to encourage us right now, Marty, again, by how you see this as being the core of a person's life.
Yeah. Wow, thanks, Jef. It's so special, man. So it's this thing of how can the spirit be the integrating part of you? It's so easy to let your head or your feeling world, But if your spirit, and what is your spirit? It's that transcendent part, the part, each of you listening to this, know those moments when you're just worshiping God and you say, God, I love you. That's your spirit. And Jesus says the spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. And Paul says, when God's spirit meets your spirit, you know who you really are. I had the most incredible moment. I was at a wedding, and I met this guy who'd grown up in a Christian family. He's very, very bright, and he's thrown away his faith because he's all in his head. But he said, I'm no happier. I'm lonely, And then I said, okay, what's your spirit saying? And his spirit just wanted to relate to people and relationships. But he kept moving back to his head, and that was his problem. He threw away his faith in his head. But another guy I was talking to, well, how can there be God of suffering? And I said, well, all I know, this is what Job said, even though he kill me, yet I'll trust in him. It was like his spirit knew. And you see, God has made us I believe, in his image, We're made to be loving, truthful, creative, and responsible. But the thing is, as we do that, our spirit comes alive. It's the most important part of you. And if you can break through your spirit, when it's willing, when it's strong, as Jesus says, you're able to shout no to the flesh, But the problem is the noise of the other. The flesh is weak. In the Message, it says the flesh, the translation is as lazy as an old dog sleeping by the fire. And it's true, like the flesh will do anything. I've used the word already, sabotage, but it's what it's doing. So, what do I want to encourage? Like, you've got it. You know why I journal every morning? Because there's so much noise, and I get the noise out, and then I say, what does my spirit want to say? Wow. And then I hear it. And that's why, you know, if you haven't seen the video of Koji doing it, there's 4 questions, you know?
Yeah.
What do you long for most in all the world? All that's doing is trying to locate your spirit. And then it's trying to speak. And then you say, what does your spirit want to say to God? And if you can stop, you know, even as we're talking now, can you locate your spirit, that part that just wants to say to God? Might be, I love you. I don't understand. It's hard. Whatever. It's just real. And then, oh, I love this. You get that clear. The airways are open, and you can say, what's God saying to me?
Right.
And, you know, and he's always wanting to talk. But the problem is the noise is so great. And then I love this last question. What, if anything, from this point on needs to be different? Or what do you need to do for life to be different? And your spirit. Sometimes your spirit just wants to say, come on, it's time. This stuff that you're doing isn't leading to life. Right. So if you make your spirit the integrating part of you, because your spirit just loves God and it wants to be free. And remember, Galatians 5:1, it's to freedom that Christ has set you free. And then it says, so don't go back to the flesh.
That's right. That's right.
But live the freedom. You know, and look at it says where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. Come on. That's what our job is.
This is great. So good. And you know what I love about it is that the word that comes to mind is ownership. When you are listening to God through your spirit and hearing him speak, and your spirit is responding to God in that way, you own that. Yeah, you own that. You know what happens with, and this is a little bit of Jordan Peterson here that I've enjoyed some of his insight, is that when he's talking about this generation is getting more and more into ideologies, and ideologies, you don't own them, you take them on. Right. And so what you're seeing in the world is like, and you see this in the church all the time, you know, you see I went to this church, and you get taught stuff. And so this is coming maybe to your intellect, and it's coming and it's touching your heart a bit, which is good. Yeah. And I think some of it's beneficial, but it's like oftentimes people are grabbing onto these ideologies. This is who I am. I'm a particular type of person, faith, et cetera, or I believe in this, I don't believe in that. What you see is those people, they can be argued into things, and they can be argued out of them just as easily, right? But when you see Christians who their faith starts, and this is what's exciting me about what you're doing there, Marty, and what you've been releasing to us, is when you start a person out on a journey of faith, and the foundation is listening to God, listening to the Spirit, listening to their spirit, they own it. It's theirs. You know? And you can always come back to those questions. Those questions are they're not one-off questions. You come back again and again, and you say, every time you talk to them, you know, they've gone through a time of confusion during the week, or they've maybe some friend said something to them, and this has happened, and you can always go, wait, what is really being spoken? What is God saying to you? What is your spirit saying? And it's such a go-to way of living, as opposed to, well, I live by a list of rules. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have to-do lists. You know, it's good to have habits, it's good to have disciplines. But just, this has been so exciting for me, especially, I guess, being in the culture of Japan, where intellectualism, education, in the church as well, has just been elevated to sort of like idolatry standard. You know, it's like, who has the qualification, the degree to be the leader, etc., etc. And that is, I'm not saying education's bad or anything like that. I'm just saying that that way of thinking, that prioritization in faith, is such a hindrance for so many people.
Well, do you know, just to add to that, that's so helpful, Jeff. People will often say to me, you know, they come and have a chat, and I say, what should I do? And always I say, what does your spirit say? You know, what do you think you need to do? And it's so freeing, because how can I don't know. You know, I don't want to come as some advice man. A part of me wants to say something wise, so they'll say, great. But I'm pushing them to do the work, and the answer's there. The answer's there if they really want to. So I so it's so helpful what you're saying, Jef. You've got it. But I just want to encourage for everybody listening to this, if you can do the soul work, hear the noise, and guess what? Your spirit will tell you, and you'll know. And you'll be like Martin Luther, here I stand, I can do no other. That's what your job is.
That's good.
Wow.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to encourage, or maybe we can ask this question, okay, where from now? At the beginning of our discussion chat here, 33-Minute Warrior, the 33-day challenge, the whole purpose is obviously to just reinforce identity and purpose, and being able to articulate that, take some of these new ideas and thoughts. Maybe God has been challenging you in certain areas of your life, and you need to take a good amount of time to create new habits, right? You need to take a good amount of time to get rid of old habits. It's interesting. I actually read one thing the other day. It was funny because it was, how long does it take to create a new habit? And they had done research of bunches of different people, and some habits they formed within a week, and others it took like 6 months. But the average apparently was 66 days, which is 2 33-day challenges. But all that to say, I mean, there is no one rule like for creating a habit or breaking a habit. I don't think. It depends on what it is. But it's setting your heart. I guess what I would say was, during this 33-day challenge and creating the videos, it challenged me to think about how I put habits in the past when I was younger. And of course, I want to continue to hone, polish the habits that I have according to the goals that I've set, right? It's like having that sort of brutal honesty with yourself. Like, does this thing that I'm doing really meet the goal that I have in life? And if your goal, your purpose is not clearly articulated, like sometimes those habits just keep on going, those bad habits, and sometimes we just keep on delaying putting in the good habits. Yeah. So what are some of your thoughts, Marty, towards, okay, where from now?
Yeah.
The guys.
I just was really moved. I love the last 5 words that we say in the, from day 28 on, and the one of servant, that Jesus knew who he was and where he was going, and so he served. There's a purity about that, James says, don't just be hearers, but be doers. See, the problem is you can say, oh, great series. Oh, Jef, you're great and all that. Well, I don't want people to clap you, Jef. I want people to do something with what's there, And I kind of think, unless you do the work, if you're not serving from knowing who you are and where you're going and haven't done the work, you'll burn out. You'll be full of shoulds and oughts. And for me, it's this thing of how do you integrate it? Well, you serve, you do something with it. You can't keep it to yourself. You ask and say, who can I do this with next? This helped me. What can you do? And so I want to challenge everyone who's done 33-Minute Warrior to actually say, who can I do this with? I actually think in my mentoring model, there's the guy I'm mentoring, I'm ahead of them. I want them to mentor someone behind, but they need a running mate. So I want to challenge everyone. Who's your running mate? Who is doing life with you? You might have been the person who you did the 33-Minute Warrior, or you might say, I think I know it is. Well, do it again. Don't, the great thing, it's timeless truth. You'll get sick of our jokes and hearing us and maybe a song or two, but that's not the issue. Put that aside because it's the truths in it that's important. You need a running mate, and you need someone who's calling you out the whole time. For me, I have a spiritual mentor because I need someone who's going to help ask me the question. I don't want to set myself up as some great authority. And I also have a running mate once a month, and he asks me really hard questions, and I don't like it, but I do like it, you know, and I know that's what I need. And so I want to encourage don't just say, oh, that was a great talk, I like the series, but what are you going to do next? And here it is. If it's going to grow, Jef, there's momentum, then, you know, it's, Jef, you know better than me. Talk about DMM and how discipleship grows.
Yeah, exactly right. Consistency, simplicity. I mean, everything in life that's worth something basically comes down to like daily small choices. And I have with 3 teenage boys in the house. This is a message that is almost daily I'm giving to them, but it's really hard to understand. But they're starting to see it. You know, it's like it's saving money, putting money away. It's like exercising, doing a 5-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute workout a day. It's a small cost, but it has huge benefits. Learning something. And in the same way as you're mentioning that, actually just committing your heart and your mind to a new way. I mean, I don't want to get in trouble for this, but it's a new way of doing church. What we have been taught, and many of us who come from a Western church model have been told, or almost subconsciously modeled a set of priorities. And the priorities we've mostly been shown is that right there, number 1 or 2 is basically attending meetings and showing yourself that you look like you're doing the right thing. And I feel like that facade has to just fall down, and we have to take a big step back and say, in eternity, what are we doing? And what are we doing that Jesus actually told us to do? And if you look at what Jesus told us to do, he never told us to have meetings. He told us to disciple. And this is exactly what we are trying to see happen here. We're trying to see men come together in what we would say is a true mutual discipleship. And if someone happens to be like the older brother, mentor type figure, great. If someone is your running mate, great. If someone is there that you are feeding into and helping, like a Paul Timothy situation, great. But the whole core of discipleship is everyone is getting to connect directly to the head, who is Christ. 2 Timothy 2 verse 2 talks about how Paul is encouraging Timothy to pass on to other men who are able to teach others what he has taught him. And so you see this progression, this natural flow of discipleship. Give away what you've been given. And so what I'm longing for to happen, I guess, with 33-Minute Warrior, with men's ministry, is to see men in these relationships, these open, flat, free, but real relationships. Everyone's connecting to the head, but being proactive, just intentionally giving it to the next generation, to the next person, to the next person, and seeing that multiply. The amazing thing is that multiplication, 2 becomes 4, becomes 8, becomes 16, becomes 32. As you know, just within a few generations, it can reach thousands of thousands. And it's not going to like, it's not shallow. That's not shallow. We're talking about deep connection, committed relationships, friendships. In Japan, and I think in the West as well, men are longing for friendships. There's a lot of men who don't know how to have good friendships. So my desire is just to see a movement of friendships, like a movement of deep friendships that have been empowered by the Holy Spirit, that guys are getting set free, they're becoming vulnerable and open, but they're also at the same time becoming powerful and strong. They're becoming the men that they need to be for their families, for their wives, in their workplaces. I get excited thinking about it, because I really think that this is kind of like the irony of it. You're going to see men becoming more and more open about their weaknesses so that they become stronger and stronger. And once men taste this, once men taste the joy, it's like you can't stop them.
The one thing I'd want to encourage everybody listening to this who's wondering what's next is invest in someone else. Do it. Ask them to show you who next to you do it to and with, you know. And guys, listeners, send us feedback if there's some things you think, why didn't you do something on this, or I didn't find that helpful, or whatever. You know, like the really lovely thing about this thing is you can see it's not like the most professional thing. It's earthy and real. And we want your feedback, you know, and feedback's best given when asked for. So we're asking for it. Is there anything that could improve it and grow it? We'd love to hear from you.
That's right. Yes, guys, please let us know how it went. We kind of stumbled through those 33 days, throwing things together and editing the videos on the fly. We can always change that, but what we're looking for is a shift of our own personal culture, our own personal habits and stuff. And we would love to hear your input on how it was and how we could improve it. And also volunteers, if you're like, yes, I really believe in this and I want to champion this video editing and stuff. We want to actually start a whole dynamic website where we're just constantly doing little chats like this here with Marty, and we just encourage each other and we do podcasts and things. But that's going to take time and effort and people to help with that. So if that's something that's like resonating in you, let us know. And one last story, Marty, I shared it with Marty before, and I just want to encourage everyone, you know, take a big step back, take some time this week, go up on a mountain or down by the sea or by the river or whatever, and just ponder what will be the sum of your life. What will be the sum of your life when it comes to the end? Because it was interesting, just straight after the 33-minute warrior ended, like literally the day I think it ended, a Japanese voluntary worker who's been giving his life to the country of Afghanistan. He was shot and killed, and he was fairly unknown in Japan until that happened. And he's a doctor, medical doctor. He's in his 70s, and his name was Tetsu Nakamura. I'll put some link in below so you can read some news articles. But the interesting thing was, this man has for over 30 years been pouring his life to help the people of Afghanistan. And it turns out he's a Christian. He's a follower of Christ. And the Japanese news TV stations just got all over it, you know. And for a week, for 10 days, you couldn't turn the TV on without seeing an article about him. And it was so much glory to God. It's like, here's a man who could have probably stayed in Japan and he's a medical doctor, so he probably could have built a big hospital and clinic and you know, just followed his profession. But something got a hold of him back 30 years ago to serve others, to love others. And he committed his life, and he changed the lives of probably millions of Afghani people. And to the point where he's been an honorary citizen of Afghanistan, and the president of Afghanistan himself helped carry the coffin. And I was just so touched by this story. So have a time, take some time, think, what am I investing my life in? What legacy do I want? Do I just want to build a human kingdom, a big house, a steady career? Or do I want to have a legacy that resounds into eternity, where my life has impacted, you know, it doesn't have to be millions of people, but my life has impacted people, and lives have been changed because of me. And just listen to the Spirit in you and respond to him, you know, especially if you're young and you've got those many life choices in front of you. God's giving you choices. God's giving you those choices, and there's some hard roads, but they are going to be the most amazing, fruitful roads. where you can impact lives around you and perhaps even impact the nations for eternity.
Wow. You know, I hear that, I just get so moved, and I think, well, that's true greatness. Just like Jesus, you give yourself away, and
Yeah.
you know, and now all of Japan is mourning because they've seen greatness. Somehow they know it's the very best of humanity, of being Japanese, of being a citizen of the world. You know, you give your life away. It's why the story of Jesus is so profound at every level. So thanks for sharing the story. And just like Jesus, he knew where he came from and where he was going, this guy, and he served. That's right. So what a good way to finish, Jef, the challenge. Come on, guys, what do you need to do? Die to self, you know, conquer self, die to self, crush evil. Wow, that's it.
Great. Well, thank you, Marty. Thanks, everyone. Stay in touch. And we'll probably be putting up a few more interviews in the next coming weeks and months, and keep this fire burning.
Yeah. Woo.